Losing the Test series against South Africa, Pakistan desperately needed to re-establish themselves as a top-rated cricketing nation. A three-Test series against the West Indian tourists, led by Courtney Walsh, provided them with just the opportunity they needed, and they took it in style. Although Pakistan had done well against the West Indians over the years, a Test series win had always eluded them, except for one at home in 1958-59. Pakistan changed all that in the 1997 series as they trounced the visitors 3-0 to achieve a humiliating whitewash. It had been 69 years since the West Indies had suffered such a defeat. Percy Chapman had led England to a 3-0 win against them in their inaugural series in 1928. But the margins of victory added to the achievement. The first Test was won by an innings and 19 runs, the second by an innings and 29 runs, and the final Test at Karachi by 10 wickets. These were the sort of defeats the West Indies had been inflicting on opponents around the world with regularity in the 80s. The first Test, played at the Arbab Niaz Stadium in Peshawar, ended before tea on the fourth day, with leg spinner Mushtaq Ahmed the match winner with 10 for 106. It hadn't taken long for Pakistan to gain the upper hand as the West Indies shot selection came into question. The swing of the recalled Shahid Nazir accounted for Stuart Williams and Shivnarine Chanderpaul in the space of 3 balls. And then Wasim Akram had Brian Lara caught brilliantly by Mushtaq in the gully from a full-blooded drive. By lunch, they'd also lost Sherwin Campbell leg before to Mushtaq and were tottering at 29 for 4. Mushtaq then made a triple breakthrough after the interval, dismissing Carl Hooper from an errant sweep and Phil Simmons and Raul Lewis with his googly. At 58 for 7, the West Indies looked like making their lowest score for a decade, but David Williams and Ian Bishop put on 48 runs for the 8th wicket to save total embarrassment. Curtly Ambrose hit 2 sixes in a useful 30 before becoming Mushi's 5th victim as the innings closed on 151, a partial recovery from such a poor start. Mushtaq's 5 for 35 was incidentally the cheapest haul of 5 wickets in his career. Pakistan had lost Amir Sohail by the first evening, but Saeed Anwar and Ijaz Ahmed put on 133 for the 2nd wicket, making 65 each, and Pakistan forged ahead. By the end of the 2nd day, the hosts were 246 for 5 and very handily placed. Inzamam ul Haq had been badly dropped by Walsh the previous day, and then he retired with an injured toe. But when Walsh dismissed Azia Mahmood, the big man returned to the crease and gleaned another 131 runs from the last 4 wickets. His own contribution, 92 not out. He was particularly severe on the debutant Lewis, hitting him for 2 straight sixes, and the leg spinner ended a punishing baptism with figures of 0 for 93 from 24 overs. Facing a deficit of 230 runs from the first innings, West Indies could only save the match if their batsmen could defy Pakistan's menacing mixture of bowling for more than 2 days. Much depended on Carl Hooper and Brian Lara. After Williams and Chanderpaul were deceived by Wasim Akram and Mushtaq, Lara launched a flurry of boundaries and moved to an overnight score of 36. But his hopes of a telling innings were cut short on the 4th morning when he fell leg before to Azia Mahmood for 37. Hooper made a promising 23 before being well caught at short extra off Mushtaq, and from then on it was a procession. Simmons failed again, Campbell's 4-hour effort ended with a push across the line at Akram, and the tail subsided to the captain and the leg spinner.
LBW ke appeal are out. LBW की बहुत ही जोरदार अपील और out.
With rumours of a rift within the team circulating in the local media, the West Indies pulled out of a 3-day match at Hyderabad, complaining of poor accommodation. So, short of match practice, they then entered the 2nd Test at the Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium and performed even worse than the first. After being inserted, West Indies lost 4 wickets for 58, including both Lara and Hooper. Lara was the victim of a magnificent swinging Yorker from the returning whacker Yunus. Hooper was caught at the wicket off Mahmood for 0. Chanderpaul and Campbell then put together the first meaningful stand of the series for the West Indies, adding 147 for the 5th wicket. Campbell made 78 before mistiming a hook, and Chanderpaul was LBW to whacker for a defiant 95. David Williams then chipped in with 48 much-needed runs, and the West Indies scraped to 303 all out. Pakistan lost Saeed Anwar to Ambrose, his only wicket of the series as it turned out, and Ijaz Ahmed made just 10, but the match then swung inexorably Pakistan's way. Inzamam and Sohail both had something to prove to the home crowd, and prove it they did. Their stand of 323 for the third wicket was a record for any country against the West Indies, and easily beat the best for any wicket for Pakistan against them. Sohail had gone 17 tests without 100, whilst Inzamam's innings of 177 was his long-awaited first test century on home soil. Between them they hit 36 fours and 3 sixes. The West Indies bowlers, with Walsh leading the way, fought back admirably on the fourth day, claiming the last 7 wickets for just 57 runs, but the damage was already done. Although Walsh had taken his wicket haul for the series to 10 from 2 innings, and Pakistan were all out for 471, the lead of 168 would prove decisive. In one of their worst ever batting displays, the West Indies were demolished in the second innings for just 139, as David Williams, Bishop and Walsh ran themselves out, and Wasim Akram picked up 4 for 42. Lara was caught and bowled for 1, and the other main hope, Chandapal, was LBW to Akram for 7. Campbell 34 and Hooper with a classy unbeaten 73, which included 4 sixes, 3 and 5 balls from Mushtaq, were unable to save them, as Pakistan clinched the series after 50 minutes of the final day by their biggest margin ever, an innings and 29 runs. In the third and final test at Karachi, Pakistan, keen for a whitewash, achieved the goal comfortably within 4 days. West Indies, choosing to bat first on a perfect batting pitch which offered nothing to the bowlers, were well in control at 97 for 1 at lunch on the first day, but then collapsed in the next 2 sessions. Campbell, with 2 50s already in the series, appeared in control, but when Lara was bowled by off-spinner Saqlain Mushtaq, who was surprisingly playing for the first time in the series, West Indies lost 4 wickets in the second session for 82 runs, including Hooper for a duck and Chandapal again LBW to Akram. The last 5 wickets then went down for 40 in the post-tea period to Saqlain and Akram, and the West Indies were all out for 216. Saqlain had 5 for 54, his best figures in tests so far. Amir Sohail then took up from where he left off at Rawalpindi and shared another record partnership, this time with makeshift opener Ijaz Ahmed. Ijaz was only promoted because Saeed Anwar had a stiff neck, but he made full use of his opportunity, and the pair rattled up 298 for the first wicket, a record by any team in Pakistan. Sohail, who played the more dominant innings, scored 160, exactly as he'd done in the second test, and Ijaz made an elegant 151, his highest test score. From such a strong position, it was a surprise when Pakistan were restricted to a lead of just 201. As at Rawalpindi, the visitors' attack came good when it was too late, with some fine bowling by Mervyn Dillon, 5 for 111, his first haul of 5 wickets, and Walsh again, 4 for 74, including his 350th test victim. Dillon had replaced the out-of-sorts Ambrose, who'd already returned to the Caribbean to recuperate. With his team facing another humiliating defeat after Wacker had sent back both openers, Hooper threw caution to the wind and launched a ferocious assault on the Pakistani attack, handing out particularly harsh treatment to Mushtaq. 67 runs came off 7 overs from the leg spinner, 47 of them to Hooper. For a while, Lara stayed with him, and he often appeared to be trying to calm down his partner as Hooper blazed away, but the left-hander was again undone by Saqlain for 37. Hooper reached a scintillating century off only 80 balls, but his tired dismissal to Akram spelt the end for the West Indies. Saqlain once again proved to be their tormentor with 4 for 26 to finish with 9 for 80. Akram took 4 for 42, and the West Indies succumbed for 212, only narrowly avoiding a third innings defeat. The Pakistani openers needed 12 runs in the second innings to win and wasted no time in formalising the whitewash. It had been a dismal and disappointing tour for the West Indies, and despite performing well himself, Courtney Walsh's tenure of the captaincy was close to an end. Nevertheless, the inadequacy of the tourist performances throughout should not detract from Pakistan's achievement in becoming only the third team in history to win every test in a series without losing a second innings wicket.